Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the most productive garden I've ever had. It's been absolutely amazing, the amount of harvest that we've had from a tiny amount of space. You can see how I set this garden up and the amount of compost that I used, how I set the garden up to save compost and compost in the process of growing at the same time. So let's go and see, and let's go and pick some of the vegetables from this amazing garden. You might notice my washing line right behind me, and the way I've set this washing line up, remember this garden's supposed to mimic the garden that I grew up growing in, and we had hardly any growing space. We had a little patch of concrete and that's what we grew in. We had our clotheslines and everything growing in the middle, and even in my clothesline I've got vegetables growing and I've got flowers growing. And the way I set this up, you can see how I set this up on my Patreon account. If you do want to support our channel, that's one of the best ways, by becoming a Patreon. So I've put a video on there showing how I set this little washing line up and the garden in there. But let's get harvesting some of the stuff from here. Okay, so we've got some mess here, let's tidy that up. I've got a container that we've pulled up a load of amaranth from, and you can see the remaining roots from amaranth. Now with this soil, I've got lots of useful compost in here. What I'll do is I'm going to just throw some more kitchen scraps in here, and then I'll bury it, and then next year we'll be good to go again to start growing in here without having to do much. All these roots can compost in here. One of the best things that I've managed to achieve in this garden are these peppers. I've never managed to grow bell peppers before, and here we've got ripe bell peppers. So capsicums, absolutely amazing fruit, some really nice crops here. We'll pick those actually today. We'll do a bit of picking. I would leave them a bit longer, but it is getting cold, and a lot of these sort of chilies will start suffering if we do get a sudden frost. They'll all die. But these small peppers and these small chili plants, they're doing absolutely amazing. Oh, you brought thank you very much. Do you want to pick some aubergines? Come here. Yeah. We've had some really amazing aubergines from here.
I cut one.
You cut them and I'll hold the bowl. There's a nice big one there, get that. So, because we're into the second week of October, or the start of the second week of October, we're going to start picking pretty much all the tender vegetables from this garden. We'll leave some of the more frost tolerant stuff or the cold tolerant stuff, but anything that's, because this is still outside, anything that's quite mature, like these aubergines, these can all come off. Khadija, scissors please. Don't cut so low down, much higher up, okay? So get that right up there.
Which one?
Get that one right up there. That's it. See the difference in stalk length?
Yeah.
See the difference in stalk length? That means that it's just going to keep the fruit protected a little bit longer, okay? So, no, leave those little ones. We'll ask you Daddy when to pick those. I think they've got a few more, you know, we've got a little bit more time for them. They're too small to pick, but we'll take all of these. And that one as well. Yes. So there's a nice crop of aubergines from a couple of plants. This plant here has been absolutely mega productive, really, really good. We've been growing lettuces in these window boxes, and we need to get some more planted actually, because a lot of these have gone to seed like that. But I will pull all these up. Yeah, yeah, they're peppers. So I'll pull all these up. Do you want to give these to the chickens? Do you want to give these to the chickens? So we've got a choice. We can feed them to the chickens, or if you don't have chickens, I could have just chucked them in there and let them compost down, and you know, they'll produce better soil for next year. But this box, for things like lettuces, that's ready to go straight away. You know, you don't have to do anything special with that. Just give it a little dig if you want, but that's ready to go straight away. Again, we'll pull these lettuces. They've gone to seed. They've had the day. If you wanted to, Depending on what you were growing, you could cut it off. If you weren't going to grow again right now, you could cut it off or snap it off like that and leave the root in the ground to compost down even further. But because it's still early October, we've still got time to be growing stuff. I want, growing space. So all of this is coming out. And like I said, that composting box is all just going to go in there, and it's just going to compost down in there. What I'll do is, I think this one will be good for sowing a few seeds of spinach direct into here, or we could even go for coriander. So just under this plastic cover here, we've got loads of coriander growing. It just does need a little bit of protection, just to make sure that it's growing and being protected, growing nicely. But yeah, the coriander, absolutely amazing. So we've had 2 boxes full of coriander like this. So that's our 3rd crop of coriander, and that was sown about 2 weeks ago, and we'll keep it growing. We might sow those 2 boxes with coriander, or it might be some lettuce. I'll ask my mum what she wants to grow, and go from there. So there's a couple of plants of turmeric. They need to go inside. They really need to go inside right now. They don't want to be outside. I don't know why that must have been, we've forgotten to take them in. So they really need to be inside. You can see they're starting to yellow a little bit from being outside. That's not good. Where are these daisies come from? I don't know how these daisies ended up in my carrot box. Yes, you can. That's what we're going to do now. I'll pull it forward. This one's a second sowing of carrots, and we'll pull these a little bit later. But I don't know where these daisies have come from, but let's get rid of them for now. So that's a second or third sowing of carrots. This is a second sowing of carrots, and this is ready to harvest. So if you guys move back, then we'll do these carrots. Yeah. You want to pull a carrot? Come on then. Come on. Are you starting on the carrots already? Okay, fine. While we're getting organised, Zaki's getting busy.
Whoa. I'm going to go shake
Make sure you shake the soil off.
I was going to go shake it off in the grass.
Okay. So are you just pulling everything out, Zaki? Yeah. Go on, fine. You do what you're doing then. So we've got some nice carrots in here. That
I'm going to pull all of them out.
One of the earliest videos that I did on YouTube was growing carrots with Zaki, and that's one of the best. Yeah, it was a really cool video. It's quite early, so the picture quality inside.
Tiny one.
So the picture quality and the sound quality might not be the best, but do go and check it out. I'll leave a link for it up here. It is entertaining, and you can see how Zaki's grown over the years. I'm not going to do anything to this box here. I'm just going to leave it as it is. All these weeds can come out. Because this is a good mix for carrots, and it's a special mix just for carrots, we're not going to mess with this. Next spring, we'll put a little bit of compost in just to boost it up a bit, and then we'll get growing again. What are you doing? So, okay, take those carrots over there. Loads and loads of orange mint. So Nitin, you gave me this mint, and we're still harvesting the mint from there. One of the biggest disasters of this garden was this bean arch. For some reason, I just couldn't get it to stay up. The beans got too big, the plant got too big, and it just started flopping all over the place. Every time I put it up, it just went down again. But even now, we can still be picking beans, loads of French beans. We've had a really, really good crop of blueberries this year. It's taken a few years for these blueberries to come on, but we've had an absolutely amazing crop of blueberries. Now, these longer branches that have really shot off, once the plant sheds its leaves, I'll trim them right back and get rid of all these longer branches, and so it's a nice little, compact plant, and it takes a bit more shape. But you can see what I'm talking about with this pot here. I'm just going to dump all these leaves and stuff, and hopefully we'll have a nice composting bucket there. Yes, buddy. Come here. All these beans, we need to get them all off.
Beans.
Yes. Come on, get them all.
Mr. Bean.
Put your bowl down, grab as many as you can, because this whole vine's coming down. Okay, everything's coming off. Nights are just too cold for anything to be, to keep on growing. See what I mean? Look how the thing is supposed to look, and how it's ended up. It was poorly planned. I mean, I didn't get time to get the bean arch up properly. A lot of these ties are cotton ties, so they're made from old saris and old t-shirts and stuff. So we can just leave them to compost back into the ground. It's one of the saddest parts of the year, actually, when you start tidying up for the end of the year. You've had a great growing season, and when you start pulling these plants away and you know that it's going to be a cold few months coming up ahead, it is a little bit sad, actually. So yeah, you've got positives in having a really nice abundant harvest, but there is a bit of sadness there. So because these are beans, right, and they are legumes, I'm definitely going to leave the roots of these in the ground, because although they do use some of the nitrogen to produce the actual bean pods, there is still some residual nitrogen in there that will improve the soil. We're probably going to get a bowl full of beans now, French climbing beans, but we've had so much from this. It's produced so well. There's a nice one that's grown accidentally. That's going to be perfect for saving seeds. Look how fat that one is. Yeah, there might be a little bit of cross-pollination, but you're still going to get really good, beans from them. Because we couldn't get access to this area because the beans had fallen over them and covered them a little bit. The tomatoes, we couldn't maintain it just like we'd do with the other ones. So the production was okay, but it wasn't as good as it would have been had we been able to get to it. There's another one for seeds. I've got lots of plastic covers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a little bit of a dig over. Oh, you can see how dry it is as well. It's just really dry. I'm going to give this a little bit of a dig over, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to plant some radish seeds in here. And because I've got the plastic covers, I should be able to get another crop of radishes before it gets really cold, because of the microclimate. And that's the advantage of growing like this, because there's a nice microclimate. This concrete absorbs a lot of heat, so it's going to be a little bit warmer than anywhere else in the garden. There's that box that I'm just filling up with leaves and stuff, and that's going to be just composting in there and turning into more good growing medium for next year. But yeah, you can see how we underplanted these with radishes, and we had radishes growing and picking little bits of fruit from the bottom. So little vegetable from the bottom of the plant, while the beans took the top plant. It's just that I messed up getting that bean arch right. But let's move these bean plants from here. There's a couple of runners there, nice ones. There's some nice runners there. Okay, I think that's it. Let's get rid of that. So with these, I've got the choice of composting them, or what I'm going to do is, because I've got loads of wood chips at the minute, and instead of stacking them at the bottom of the garden, I'm going to stack them on this bed. So before I stack the wood chips on here, I'm going to chuck all my dead plants, dying plants, and then I'm going to cover that with wood chip, and then I've got a compost pile pretty much going. It would have been nice for me to be able to get the trailer out and go and pick some manure up, but yeah, that's not one thing that I've been able to do. So all these dead, dying veg can go in there, and we'll chuck the wood chips over the top, and that'll all compost down over the winter. So I found my radish seeds, and these are seed tape with radishes. Now with radishes, I think it's completely useless to buy seed tape. I think we did this just to see what the seed tape was like, but I think it's quite useless to buy radish seeds on seed tapes. The seeds are big enough to be able to handle, without any major issue. But I'm just going to drop these radishes in there. and I'll give them a good covering. There we go. And we'll water that in a bit. Yeah, we'll give that a good water in a few minutes. And hopefully we'll get another crop of radishes before the season ends up. I've also brought some of my lettuces. With lettuces, you don't really need to worry about the quality of the compost. They're such, they hardly need anything in the soil. They really do well on just pretty much, yeah, I was going to say thin air, but yeah, you know what I mean. They do well on very low nutrition. So let's just give this a little sprinkling of seeds, and the type of lettuces that I grow are the frilly leaf types. What are these? These are called winter density. So they're not the big headed types. I'm going to take a handful of compost out of this one just to cover the lettuces, and we'll fix that one in a minute. Yeah. So now with this, you've got two choices. If you've got space in your greenhouse, put that in your greenhouse just to speed up the germination. They'll keep growing outside for at least another month or so, and you can harvest good lettuces in that time. But if you don't have the space in a greenhouse, do what we've done over there. Put some plastic covering over the top, plastic bag, plastic, a 2 litre bottle. If you cut that down the middle and spread it over the top, you've got yourself a mini greenhouse. These hot wax chilies coming off just like the peppers. So we'll pick this red pepper. There we go. Look at that, absolutely beautiful. There's a final bit of autumn pickings. It's not been bad. There's loads of coriander still to harvest. There's loads of hot peppers and hot chilies still to harvest. Whenever we see a slight chance of frost, they're all coming out. It's been a really good garden. It's been really productive for me, and I'm quite happy with the way it's turned out. There's lots of soil here. None of this needs to go to waste. We'll just keep, if you've got containers like this and you notice the soil level drop, just keep doing this, keep doing what I'm doing. Top it up with all your leaves, all your prunings, cover it with a bit of compost, and come spring, that's ready to plant. I think that container's had its last day. There's some last bits of amaranth in there, but that container needs to go. Like I say, with this garden, you can see exactly how I set it up right the way from the start. You can follow the progress. There's a series to it, gardening in a small space, and we'll do this again. We'll definitely do this again next year. We might do a little bit more to make it a little bit more appealing, but we'll see. I'm going to leave it there for this one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.